All right, hello everyone and welcome. Thanks for coming on to my channel, Kevin's Loving Vibrations. I'm your host, Kevin. Today we have a treat. We have Ness joining us. Before we get into what our video is going to be about, if you could all do me a big favor, hit that thumbs up, please subscribe, leave a comment below. Really helps to with these YouTube algorithms to get these videos out. And they're very much appreciated. So if you could do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. Before we get started, this video is for entertainment purposes only. Um, so Ness and I have been working together for the last several months. She's focusing in on the astrology for the collective, but we had some interesting things come through in our last video. We were focusing in on 2026 in the astrology, and Trump kept on coming up in it. Obviously, there's a lot going on. So, with everything going on in the world, and we're only 2 weeks into January. Today is the 13th. Um, we wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive on Trump's collective energy for 2026. So I'm going to welcome my good friend Ness. How are you doing, my friend? It's always a pleasure to have you on the channel.
I'm doing five. I'm equally shocked how many different things have happened and occurred in the past 2 weeks. Like we're
It's almost like
barely,
a year's time in the last 2 weeks of significant stuff, right?
it's interesting. We called it though. We said, 2026 is a year one and new
Mm,
beginnings. We had those images of the inauguration of Obama and Trump the first time around.
yes.
But folks, if you ever want to know what a year one feels like, this is clearly and loudly a year one. Let me just, I wrote down in the beginning of just what has happened so far.
Yeah.
We've had Trump invade Venezuela or take a leader. We have threats of Greenland, Cuba, Trump possibly invading or attacking Iran. We had the Renee Good and sending, positive wishes to her
Yes, of
family. We
course.
have, how the government responded to that particular,
Well, and all the protests. I
the
mean, all the
protests.
protests kind of coming out of nothing, right?
I
And
saw
that
this
kind of goes
weekend.
into this energy that we've been talking about. Well, first off, of one, which is
Yes.
all about empowerment.
Yes.
Um, well, we'll talk a little bit more about that
We'll
later,
go into it
but
more, but yes, it's very
that
much
fiery
laying out a year
energy I
one.
was picking
Yeah.
up for 2026.
Yes. And we're
Hmm.
also starting to see the other two branches of government starting to
Yes.
step up. We saw Congress this week in particular, they both, or maybe it was it last week, but they voted to limit, the Senate voted to limit his powers.
Hmm.
That bill is going to go to his wartime powers. It's going to go back to the House. They're going to amend it. It's going to go back to the Senate. And I believe the plan so far is that it's going to be voted at a rate that Trump can't veto it. So that's kind of
Yeah.
the whole point. And we also saw Congress vote for the extension, the Obamacare
HCA.
ACA
Hmm.
extensions, which Trump was surprised. He didn't think that was going to happen. And then Sunday, not yesterday, but Sunday, we had Jerome's hostage video, Jerome Powell's
Yes.
hostage video, where he just went straight and, to the camera, released his plea or stated that he was being investigated by the FBI because of this new building and how it's a ploy for him not wanting to raise the interest rates to wait. So a lot has happened, folks, the past 2 weeks. And yes, if you want to know what a year one is, this is what a year one feels like. It's
Hmm.
a
Big
lot of
change.
movement,
Yeah.
a lot of change. And before we get into Trump's energy, because this video is going to be all about Trump, we're going to explore it in every different direction with astrology and tarot and but I want to talk about the year one a bit, just so folks can
Yes.
have a sense of it. So let me go ahead and share my screen for a moment. Actually, let's do the infomercial bit, and then we'll go
Okay.
into the.
See what offerings are going on
Yeah,
for Ness
sorry,
and I.
folks. We don't mean to pivot so quickly, but let's just go to the infomercial bit. So, folks, I don't have a YouTube channel. I have a newsletter. So if you want to pull out your phone, use your camera feature, you can scan this, and it will add you to my newsletter. I do a monthly newsletter where I talk about the forecast for the month, and I kind of guide you with new moon and full moons, as well as discounts on type of my services. So that's the closest thing to being in the loop with me. Is this? I have a signature reading called the 2025-2026 paradigm shift reading. This has to do with this unique time we're in. If you've had big changes happen last year or right now in the middle of a big life change, I can offer astrology as a way to help you navigate that or find an astrologer in your life, explain what's happening and what we're dealing with. I also offer a 2026 calendar, and I'm going to be focusing on Trump's 2026 calendar today. So we're going to use that
Okay.
as a tool. But I'm also, as a thank you for the community, and this is actually you're going to hear it here first. I'm going to offer a limited quantity, just 50, for the price of 111.11, and then I'm going to go back to my normal price of 133.33. But folks, if you go to my website, go to the link at the bottom of the video, the first 50 will get this price. This is just a thank you to this YouTube community, and if you feel intuitively guided, you can grab that. And then, but I'm going to go back to the price because my calendars will not just be January to December. I'm going to every month. If you purchase this calendar in February, you will get February 2026 to February 2027. So this is going to be an ongoing type of dynamic thing. So yeah, I won't keep the price at this forever.
Beautiful.
And then I'm also working on, and Kevin, you'll get this as well. I'm working on a video to help explain the calendar. So not only
Okay.
do you get the calendar, I'm working on a really detailed video that's going to walk you through how to use it, how to unpack it, what do the different layers work with, and kind of meet you where you are on your astrology journey so you have a sense of how to work with it. So that's going to likely come out this week. I'm having a lot of fun with it. But it's really going to help you understand astrology, how to work with the calendar, and start to predict things that are going to happen in your life. And then I also have my new moon, full moon manifestation course on February 2nd. I have room both in my AM and PM classes, so feel free to sign up there. And then let me hand it over to you, Kevin. What events you have these two coming up?
I do. Well, before we get to my events, I will just say Ness is an amazing astrologer. She did a lot of my transits last year and a lot of big shifts coming in for me and was spot on. And the thing I love about your calendar, which I'm still learning how to use it, it's almost like it's a tool where you get a lot of basic astrology knowledge that you can use for yourself too. So it's almost focusing in on what this next year looks like for you, but then also a little bit of like a class for like basics in astrology so that you can kind of map out things for yourself too. So I'm excited to look more into my calendar and get a little bit more familiar with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, I have openings for readings, Reiki sessions. I do a combination of both. And right now I'm in the middle of just finished up level one class, two of them over the weekend. And we meet back for level two in a couple weeks, which I'm really looking forward to. But if anybody's interested in learning Holy Fire Reiki with me, I have a level one and two class. It's a beginner class for March 28th and April 11th. They are long days, a lot of information we go through, and a lot of practicing sending Reiki for ourselves at a distance, um, going through a lot of the techniques as well, and also using activating your intuition and having your intuition kind of guide the session as well. Um, so I have those. It's beginner friendly class. It's virtual on March 28th and April 11th. And then for any of my level two or higher, for at least 6 months, a 6 months level two practitioner. In April, the 24th, 25th, and 26th, I'm offering the Holy Fire Master Level Reiki class, which is so empowering and so deeply healing. Um, we uh, we do a placement to get like the master symbol, but then in Holy Fire, there's its own unique master symbol that's part of this ignition process that ignites the energy within your spirit. So you can imagine how the energy frequencies are going to adjust for you personally just from that. And then also the World Peace Ignition with this class, which helps to connect to the peace within and your true authentic self, and uses that as an outlet to manifest world peace. So if any of you are interested in my classes or if you'd like a reading or a Reiki session, check out my website, kevinlovingvibrations.com. And Ness was so kind to have the QR code too, so you
Yes.
can scan that with your phone and take
Yeah,
you right
folks, you can
there.
pull out your phone, go to the camera option, and it'll take you straight to his website here. So,
Thank you, Ness. Very kind of you to
of course.
add a
Well,
slide for me.
I feel I'm going to probably take one of your Reiki classes this year. I don't know if it'll be the March 28th, but that is on my menu. Especially with the astrology being so fiery, it
Yeah,
makes sense to work with Reiki type of just to move it and navigate it in different ways. And I
yeah,
also want to give you a shout out. So, folks, we're going to be talking about Trump's 2026 year and forecasting the energies for him. But I do recommend having a private session with Kevin to have him pull tarot or for him to feel into your hits for your 2026 year. I've done this a couple times with Kevin, both 2025 and 2024, and had you predict my year. And I think it's a great way to just, get a second opinion about what someone
hmm
else sees about, from the tarot and the cards of the peaks and valleys that they see in your life. So if you folks haven't thought about it, I would really recommend booking Kevin for a 2026 outlook. Yeah.
Thank you, Ness.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Okay, so now we're going to get into 2026. We're focusing on Trump, but before we do, I just want to talk about the year one last time. So,
Yes.
2026 is a year one. And again, we're barely, 2 weeks into it and a lot has happened. And this is what a year one feels like. We're feeling at the collective level. Everyone, you should check in your own personal astrology or numerology what your personal year is, because even though the collective is having a one, you might be having a 3 year or a 5 year. So there's something about, integrating both of
hmm
those energies. But year one represents new beginnings, new identity, taking on new projects. It's maverick energy. It's not like using the past to the precedent. It's just really, breaking away from cycles and just going for it. It's very much that acronym FAFO, F around and find out.
Yeah.
That is a 2026, a year one. And we shared this last time, that last time around, we were in a year one, you know, Trump was elected the first time, his inauguration, and then one previous was Obama. And that energy, if you really tap into that moment wherever you were when you saw Trump walk down that boulevard, I can't recall the name, or when Obama walked down it, that energy of new beginnings, a page was turned, this is a new chapter,
Yeah,
and,
change.
and change.
hmm
And so I just want to, as I don't want folks to be disheartened by this. Like the past 2 weeks has, been a lot, but this is a time to just go for it. This is a time to not ask for permission for other people or waiting for someone to say, "Oh, I want you to go ahead and go for it." This is where you get to embody that maverick energy. If you are an athlete and you want to, do ballet on the side, go for it. If you're a knitting grandma and you want to start to listen to heavy metal, go for it. This is this is a year of paradox. This is a year where you're going to, do things that feel, different, but it's really to shift the energy.
mm
But it might look at, face value, look like paradox, but it actually is integration. There's
mm.
something about balancing the parts of your life that are asymmetrical. There's a part of, but it's, again, it comes from inside. There's something about you're going to give permission slip to yourself as opposed to waiting for other people to give you permission slips in different ways. And then after our session last, 2 weeks ago, both Kevin and I independently realized the Chinese numerology for 2026.
Yes.
And for in the Chinese system, it is a horse year. And in 2026, it's going to be a fire horse year, which is so funny because the Chinese numerology matches the regular numerology, which matches also the astrology, which has a lot of fire activity
Mm.
with like Leo and Aries. And so, very much in line. This is a year of new beginnings, energy, passion. And I'm also going to point out to Trump's chart because there's a lot of energy in his chart too, in terms of
Mm. Well, and
things
that
moving.
fiery energy too, being a bit of like cleansing and purifying too. So this new beginning can take place. Can I share something really funny?
Yeah,
It
go for
kind of
it.
just hit me for me personally. I'm a one. birth year. It's
Hmm.
a one universal year for us,
Hmm.
um, and a 1 year for me. I was born in the year of the horse. I'm a Leo, so fiery horse. We're in the year of fire year, so I'm expecting a big, big push this year for probably a lot of hopefully positive change. But
Yes. Yes. From what you shared, it means what I hear or what I predict for you is you're going to have a lot of movement.
hmm
From where you start to where you end, a lot of these things are aligned to move you not just like, 1x or 2x, but exponentially.
for
So
sure.
it's gonna be
Well, and
a
that's
lot. Yeah.
how I've been feeling, even kind of going into 2026. I feel like I'm still a little bit in 2025 because things are just moving so fast. I really just need to find and prioritize that time to be present, right?
Yes. Yes. This is a year, and you're going to learn basically how to run, kind of. Like
Yeah.
you're learning the momentum of how to run and then how to keep moving while you're at a running pace as opposed to walking in different phases of your life. It's gonna kind of at the marathon
hmm
endurance mindset is gonna be very much what you'll likely achieve, especially by April. You'll probably plateau and
Okay.
you'll it's funny because it's a lot of movement, but you're gonna acclimate very quickly. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? So,
Well, and I'm open for whatever opportunities spirit wants to bring in, as long as it's helping the collective and bringing positive change and being of service to others. I'm all for it. So
that's a great mindset. That's
just
how
hope
you're,
to have some support along the way, right?
yeah, move with the change as opposed to blocking it and
Yeah,
stopping
for
it
sure.
in
Just kind of
different
going with
ways.
it.
Yes.
So how is this all how is this all going into for Trump for 2026? This
So,
is all kind of
yeah,
leading
so
up to a lot of those one again, which is he
yes.
was inaugurated in a one,
Yes.
um, kind of cleansing, closing chapters and some new beginnings coming in. What were you picking up for like a collective like overlook of 2026 for him?
Let me actually look at what his year will be, his numerology year will be. Because he, as a collective, is having a one. Let me see if I can look this up. So, I intuitively feel his energy is actually waning.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
I feel, there was a moment this past week where Vance, or maybe it was the weekend, Vance did a press conference and he was rambunctious and hostile. And it just felt like he was overperforming to say, look over here instead of over here. And I think
Mm,
the redirect was Trump and Trump's health. And oh my gosh, the late night shows did such a set last night about Trump's activities over the weekend. And Colbert, I don't know if a lot of them talked about how Trump got up in the middle of a meeting and looked out the window
mm.
and was like randomly talking. Colbert did a thing
That
where he
was with
got
the oil execs, right?
the oil execs
Yeah.
meeting. Yeah, he randomly did that. And that's also when Marco Rubio passed a note and he read it out loud
Yeah.
as opposed to. But Colbert did a moment where he thinks he had to get up to pass gas. And so he's like, there's no other reason why you would do that. And so there's something about his health. His health is a little bit odd in different ways. So
Well, we're
when I
seeing his personal energy start to wane and lessen, obviously with the health, but I think also his influence and power as we're seeing more and more people stand up to him and um, kind of what's the word? Kind of hit him back, right? Kind of
yes,
stand up to the bully
it's interesting because I think when we see about this Greenland and this Venezuela and Iran, I
and the
don't.
Congress.
And Congress, yeah, Congress is pushing back so much as well. I don't see this as someone as this seems like an overcorrection from someone who's disempowered.
hmm
This is not the actions of someone who feels very empowered. And so, yeah, astrologically, it looks like he's having some peaks and valleys this year.
Yeah.
And it looks very clear that there's many moments where he could potentially off-ramp in different ways, whether off-ramping is being impeached or maybe the ultimate off-ramp that we will all experience one day. But then there's also periods in his 2026 where he's actually gaining ground, where he's
Mm.
actually, having abundance and
Getting some
feeling good.
momentum
His
behind him. Yeah.
momentum. And so I'll share the astrology in terms of where those off ramps potentially could occur and what that overall shape of his 2026 year is. But before I get into the astrology and before you maybe pull some tarot cards on it, when it comes to just intuitive hits, and folks in the audience, feel free to share your hits in the comments as well. We love to like aggregate people's sense. I logically and intuitively feel I don't know if he will be around by summer.
Mm,
And I say that logically because his cognition is just going such a steep decline
yeah.
that it doesn't make like you literally could plot it on a graph and it would just basically be April or May. He's incoherent to the
Mm,
point where you can't mask it anymore. And so, and then also intuitively in my own body, I feel him waning. Like I feel his power waning, his words are waning.
his
What do you
physical
feel
energy
like
and
in
well,
terms?
mental too. Yeah. Well, I've always said, even fall of 2025 to like spring of 2026, so much pressure kind of building up against him, where
Mm,
I feel like those would be like the peak opportunities for him to leave, whether, he's removed or obviously the health.
health, yeah.
Every time I check his health too, he's always got like the tower above him as well. So something big following with the health. It's interesting because our last show 2 weeks ago, I was feeling like he's going to be out by like spring of this year. But when I threw some cards that you were looking at something going on in July,
Yep.
I actually had his card come out, the King of Pentacles, with the Eight of Cups, which is a card of ill health, but it's also a card of resignation and walking away. And it
Mm,
came through with, I think, the Wheel of Fortune, which is like a major turning point,
yes.
kind of fate, karma, a new cycle. Um, so I would say if it's not spring, it feels like by summertime, something big's happening to take him out. Now, when we look in at predictions or even like timelines of energy, it's not always fluid with the timing aspect. People have free will, so things can change. So
Mm,
if Trump's health isn't doing very well, if he follows the orders of his doctors and getting help, maybe that can help some. Um, But I agree with you. It feels like the pressure is getting so much, the cognitive decline is
mhm.
advancing rapidly, um, where I really feel his energy waning. And I actually feel those around him kind of are aware of this too and are planning, um, like replacements, which is maybe why JD Vance was just up there, kind of giving a bit of like Trump energy
Yeah.
for his takeover.
Yeah, it's there's a Daily Beast podcast and this podcast this past week talked about Trump being there's a term called late stage capitalism, which means like it's late stage democracy. It means like the final stage a social group goes through before it moves on to the next stage.
Mm-hmm.
And they've coined it late stage Trump. We're basically at the last chapter of Trump
Yeah.
and
Well,
what we're
going into that 1 year, you can
yes.
kind of think of it being the end of that cycle for him. He's been around in politics for the last decade. Um, and I really feel like this year will be where we're able to kind of turn that page and move on.
And even with the 1 year, there's a weird way where we're asking something different of Trump as
Mm,
well. There's something about this if collectively we're in this one and he keeps doing the same thing, we're like, no, like we don't want that anymore. And so
yeah.
he actually needs to pivot and change. And astrologically, it looks like he does do some sort of pivoting around
No,
June.
interesting.
But he needs to pivot and change for this one energy. And if he doesn't, it's out with the old and with the new type of
Well, if he
dynamic.
even makes it to June, right?
I know. We have some, yeah, his
Hmm.
in terms of everything that's at
And
play.
our last show also, I believe that morning, I actually had a vision of Trump being translucent and in a portal of light, and he was kind of smiling and waving. It reminded me of um like one of like the memorandum, like when somebody's passed,
Oh
like and
yeah,
they
like
show
in
it
an
on the
award show.
news,
Yeah.
like they show it on the news.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, like kind of transitioning into light, but like being translucent through it. It was
Hmm.
very interesting.
Very, yeah.
Well, and waving, maybe we can all wave goodbye. Fingers crossed, right?
I'm ready to wave goodbye.
Yes,
Very
ready to
much
close this chapter.
ready to close this chapter. Yeah,
So,
so go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, so do we want to take a look at his chart?
Yeah, we'll look at his chart. One thing I looked up, he is actually on a 3 year. in 2026.
Mm,
So 3 year is about communication, socializing, some potential financial burdens that he might be experiencing, but it's actually good for his energy as a Gemini sun.
mm,
Being a 3 year is really much in his element. But again, if we're collectively at a one, we're kind of over that in terms
mm-hmm.
of what we want to experience. Yeah, so let's before I go into astrology, I'm curious, Kevin, just what the tarot says. So, do you want to pull cards on Trump's just 2026 year as a whole, maybe like one card per quarter, or
Sure.
I'm curious what the cards say in terms of his how they would describe his 2026 year.
See how it aligns with
Mhm.
astrology.
Yeah. And then I'll reveal the astrology after.
All right. So for the first quarter for Trump, Seven of Pentacles.
Mm.
Show those in just a moment. Let's just pull all cards while I'm here. Second quarter for Trump 2026. Right. Knight of Pentacles. It's a
Mm.
card can also be a card of walking away. Interesting too that both are pentacles,
Yeah.
so we know how he's been enriching himself. Third quarter, Three of Swords, betrayal, heartbreak. Could be some of those heart issues.
Yeah.
These are not positive, optimistic, happy cards.
That matches your intuitive hit too. You saw
Yeah.
around summer. Yeah.
And then the fourth quarter, we have Seven of Cups, which, well, I mean, he's already doing
That's-
that. That's look over
Yeah.
here. Illusions, delusions, um, distortion also can be a card of the mind not being grounded into reality, right?
Very
So no
interesting.
major arcana here, but for the first corner, Seven of Cups, this is a card of review. It can be a bit of a
Seven of
card of,
Pentacles.
or
Yes.
Seven of Pentacles. I
Yes.
apologize. It can be a bit of, there's a somber energy to this card, and it's almost reflecting on, am I doing enough to succeed? Did I do enough work to
Mhm.
thrive? It can be a card of like kind of sitting in introspect and possibly like regret, you know? If
Mhm.
if I would have done more, look how much further along I would have been. Um, I don't know if I feel intuitively Trump is such a narcissist. There's not a lot of
Like,
self-reflection there,
yeah,
but there's
is he capable
disappointment.
of it?
Like
Yeah.
everything isn't working out for him. Knight of Pentacles. This is often about it's a slow-moving card, but it can be a card of travel and like walking away. So having
Mhm.
to kind of shift things, um, walking away from your original plan. So it can be a
Mhm.
card of like moving on.
Mhm.
Third quarter, Three of Swords. I get this card for him all the time. Heart health obviously not being good, but I think as we're seeing this energy escalate, we're seeing those around him starting to lose that support. And so I do feel when he goes down, you know, everybody is sabotaging him to save themselves, right? But this is a card of betrayal, heartbreak, disappointment, being defeated. Um, And then the Seven of Cups for the last quarter is all about trying to figure out a plan or come up with some kind of new idea. It's a card of like brainstorming, but it can also be a card that's not grounded into reality. It's almost being stuck in the mind, which is what we're seeing with like the cognitive decline. Um, of course, his whole presidency, and since he's been of influence, it's all a diversion tactic. Look over here. Don't look at the Epstein stuff over here. Let's kidnap a leader. Um, so we're not looking at things that will take him down, but these are not happy cards at all. I
Yeah.
I'll, I was hoping maybe for a very strong major arcana here, but just to kind of briefly go into it, um, these aren't cards of success.
Can I share a comment
Yeah,
about
of course.
your cards? It's funny, the first two are pentacle cards, but both of them are this like reflective pentacles
Mm,
type of energy. The first one, Seven of Pentacles, as you I think you said it as well, but just this like reaping what you sow, how are
hmm
you planting your seeds? And then for the Knight of Pentacles to follow the Seven of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles is like the slowest. of the nights.
Yeah.
And so there is this like certain momentum with the Seven of Pentacles. Let's say it's like, 20 miles per hour. When you get to the Knight of Pentacles, that's 5 miles per hour. That's even
Mm.
slower. So there's something slowing down with his money. That's kind of what I'm seeing,
Well, and
or
also his influence and power and energetically, like we're saying, right?
something is waning.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go to that of
Three of
Swords,
Swords. It's like it's over, it feels like. It's kind of
it
my feeling
feels,
with
and
it.
Three of Swords also represents the heart, and we know he has heart issues or some sort of circulatory type
Mm-hmm.
of thing. Astrologically, and I'll go into the astrology. There is something happening around July too, so we're picking up on
Mm-hmm.
that. And then the Seven of Cups too, for a narcissist, when the mask falls or their power wanes, they're very confused.
Mm.
They don't know what else to do. And so I think what you're picking up there too is the confusion. Like, wait, where do I go? If I can't go this way, how do I go this way? And so
Yeah.
their tactics don't work anymore.
Well, and these are possible energies depending on, if there's a possible transition, like what you're picking up there too. So even if he's still with us by the end of the year.
It's just so karmic too, because the US is going through our 250th anniversary this year,
Mm-hmm.
and we're having a Mad King moment.
Yeah.
Like very much of like Game of Thrones, Mad King,
Well, we
like,
know how it turned out for the Mad Kings in Game of Thrones, right?
yes, we do know how it turns out for them. Sorry, folks, for spoiling a 10-year season. 10-year-old TV show. But yes, but even I go back to like, King George, right? I think it was King George, the Mad King,
Mm-hmm.
his whole it's so karmic, like what we're dealing with as a country. Okay, so before I go into or what, we'll end on this. We're gonna end with you pulling tarot on, will Trump be here December 31st, 2026? And
Yeah,
then
we'll ask a
yes or no.
couple
Yeah, we'll
yes or
we'll
no
we'll end
questions.
some juicy questions at the end with tarot, but I'm going to go into the astrology now.
Yes.
And what you shared really does match up with the astrology. So let me go into this. It's not four key vibes. There's a lot of key vibes for Trump's
Mm-hmm.
2026. How do I want to talk about it? There's the new moon that's coming up. That's important for everyone. He's going to have his own experience. Okay, I'll end on the new moon. So, at a very high level, Trump's 2026 has peaks and valleys. And, we'll say the valley is maybe not as desirable. The peak is something more desirable in his eyes. And so, what I want to say is his 2026 has many potential opportunities where he might off ramp from the presidency, or he might off ramp from this great highway we are all joining, we are participating in life. And so, folks, as you look at astrology for yourself, but also for a third party like him, when we see adverse astrology, I want you to think of it as like, and you're looking at maybe, someone's life. It's like on ramps or on off ramps in terms of there's a lot of elements that potentially really cool things could happen, or potential, wait, things are like slowing down, or you're having barriers or blockages. That's kind of the framing I want folks to be mindful of.
All right.
So in January, the new moon on the 18th, it's in a couple days. It's a very prominent new moon, very, very positive. A lot of the inner planets are piling up on the new moon. You can kind of see that here. We've got Mercury, we've got Venus, we've got the Sun, we've got
Yeah.
Mars. These are ones that change all the time, and they all are coming together. Late stage Cap, early stage Aquarius. And you can see this is the symbol for the new moon. Happens at the 28 degrees. It's kind of Pluto's nearby. And so this is a very beautiful new moon for the collective. Folks, as much as the first 2 weeks of January was really horrible, this is a new beginning. This is a collective reset point. This is something about being responsible. This is a moment where the grown-ups come back into the room, and the responsible people come back in, both collectively, but also in your own life. There's something of
Mm-hmm.
structure starting to form, and it doesn't feel so amorphous, or things are moving in the wind.
Mm-hmm. And things
Yeah.
have to kind of build up to a point for that change, for that breakthrough to happen. I mean, that's where all the growth and evolution happens if we're focusing on us collectively of how we grow, we have to have some kind of change to kind of push us in a new direction, right? So I think
Yeah.
that that's all of this escalation and such as heavy energy that we've been going through just in the first 2 weeks of the year leads to some kind of breakthrough, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to say our species will embrace change without
Yeah, yeah.
intensity or pain, but pain is quite a motivator.
Hmm.
So when it comes to this new moon, look at this, how beautiful. They're all harmonious. We've got Uranus, sextiling Saturn. Uranus is disruptions, innovation, breakthrough energy, rebellious. Saturn is structure, being responsible. And this new moon, the sun and the moon conjunct, is happening in Capricorn, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So it's having a nice little handshake with Saturn at the same time, which is just like, hey, we've got you. We've got you. We want to put you on the right footing. Just look at all these beautiful energies all working together, collaborating. Nothing is really adverse. We've got, yeah, Jupiter lightly a little bit, but it's not too intense. So this is a moment where the universe has your back. And this is kind of how I want folks to be, framing this. So on a personal level, folks, you want to, a couple days before and after, because of this pileup, you can't really miss the lesson of this new moon. It's going to be very loud in your life what this Capricorn energy is asking you to start, this new beginning of being more responsible, of being more sustainable with how you approach things. So you want to be aware of where Capricorn is in your chart. Is Capricorn in your first house of yourself? Is Capricorn in your third house of communication? So you'll have a sense of what this new beginning is for you.
Hmm.
But this one, the actions to take is to reflect on where you're living in a sustainable or unsustainable way. Where are you living in a way where 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that future you is happy with the changes you're making, or the path you're taking. There's something about long-term progress, long-term vision,
Mm.
and very beautiful. Just I can't even get over like how they're working together and collaborating. But let's look at Trump's.
All right, let's take a look.
It's not as great.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes, yes.
It's all
So
over
this,
the place a little bit, right?
I know, this pileup is actually happening opposite his Venus, which is his money, his relationships. 12th house is his subconscious. This is also him trusting relationships.
Mm,
Dealing, he's starting a new cycle where he distrusts people.
mm,
He's starting a new cycle where his money is being questioned or taken away, or he doesn't feel safe with money. There's something about not feeling as stable. Saturn's involved too, so Saturn's saying, "Hey, you're not being karmically right. You keep kicking this can down the road. Now we need, now it's due." And so there's a force that's happening. If you look at this new moon energy just being opposite Venus, relationships, money, there's some distrust sort of being weeded there. Like you're starting this new beginning where you're not going to feel as secure with money. You're going to start this new beginning for the next 6 months where you're not so secure with relationships. But
mm,
also Saturn is going, hey, you're not being karmically aligned. You keep doing things short-sighted. And that is the vibe of his new moon cycle that's going to start January 18th. And that just has to do with the oppositions. When we factor in the numerical houses, this is happening in his sixth house of health. This is also happening in his 12th house of the subconscious. So
mm,
when we think of the 12th house, I want you to think of like his dreams, his subconscious operating system. Like 12th house is kind of like when you get into a car and you drive from one point to another and you didn't think about turning at a light or making a right at the stop. It's just automatic. It's kind of that automatic brain.
mm,
He's having something rewired there. There's some sort of tension about his tendencies. We're going to see him act more erratic, possibly this week because of this pileup, but also he's going to be invited to do something different for the next 12 months, sorry, 6 months to mitigate the subconscious, the dementia, whatever, the
mm.
wheels coming off the cart that's happening in his brain, that's happening.
Can
And
I
yeah, go ahead.
ask, you're talking about like subconscious things too. Could that also be um like things that are hidden kind of coming
Yes.
out too? So if there's
Things
secrets or a lot of things he wants to kind of deflect or look over here, it's like he's not able to have that control to.
Yes, the 12th house also represents backroom deals, hidden
Mhm.
things. So it's he doesn't have as much control in those environments.
Interesting.
There's a public version of Trump and then there's a private version. And for him, he kind of lets the private kind of leak a bit more
Mm,
than other politicians would. But even even his private is still probably much darker, like the Epstein files.
Yeah. No, well,
I
that was
think,
my thought when you
yeah,
were kind of talking of intuitively, I was feeling like, well, maybe things he's been trying to distract us with, things are maybe kind of revealed.
for the next 6 months, it's going to be, look at this opposition. He can't keep it in the drawer. It keeps coming
Hmm.
out. Like this is it's a leaking
Can't
that likely,
distract us.
yeah, it
Hmm.
will. And even with the Epstein files, I was talking with Lisa Foster the other day, and I was saying, I think our imagination can't even imagine what's really in the
I'm
files.
sure. Yeah.
And so I think, little, an ear and elbow poking out of what it really is going to be just a lot, even if we don't see the whole shebang in terms
Hmm.
of what's in it. So that's what he's battling for the next 6 months, is the subconscious, is dementia, possibly the backroom deals he's been doing. He's losing power. He's losing influence with relationships and being sustainable with how he approaches his backroom deals. But it's in his sixth house of health.
Mm.
And there is something, he's likely being requested to do a new health regimen, sorry, like a new supplement or a new operation he needs to do. There's some sort of focus of his health over the next 6 months. And when it comes to his 2026 astrology, there's a moment that happens in November. But otherwise, the first 6 months are more intense for his health,
Mm.
I would say. And the second part of 2026 is more about his actions.
Okay.
There's more about he goes too far or his actions go too far, but his health will be more of a focus. And so I would say, does he really just make it health wise the first 6 months? That would be
Hmm.
a framing I want folks to be aware of. And so that is his new moon, not great at all. And this is just him today. Look at that. It's just like he's not trusting people. He's like thinking everyone's out to get him. He's kind of isolated, very
Mm.
isolated. We're also seeing Uranus square his Mars. He's angry. He's being, yeah, disruptive. That might be why he's doing Venezuela, and he's just lashing out.
Yeah.
Like just he's kind of like doesn't know who to trust, so he's kind of literally lashing out at everyone. So people work harder to gain his trust because he doesn't feel like he trusts them. So does that make sense? Instead of having
Yeah.
a normal reciprocity and feeling trusting, he's deliberately insulting and bullying them, and the people are supposed to react by working harder and that's how he feels safe.
Well, most people feel motivated to work really hard for you when somebody's bullying you,
Yes.
or right. So that's how you get what you want, I
That's
guess.
exactly.
But
That's
that could
very,
also be why I feel like there's a lot of people around him
yeah.
that are plotting for a possible transition too.
Yeah. Yeah. So so
Like he
so
doesn't
January.
have those allies anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, very much. He's probably going to feel very lonely this January, especially with the Greenland thing. I
Mm.
imagine that really alienated him in the global. And then the Jerome hostage video,
Yeah.
a bunch of other economic world leaders spoke up today, or I guess the past 12 hours, because they're on different time zones, and they said what Jerome was saying makes sense. Like, you should have separation of power between the
Yeah.
the the rates and the
Well, and
so
NATO
he's.
too, kind of coming up against him with
Yeah, look at that.
all of
That's
his
that's
plans.
NATO. That's
Yeah.
yeah, that's his alliances. And this tactic of being a bully and seeing people chase you and say, "Oh no, I trust you, I trust you." That's not going to work. That's
Mm.
not you know, that's going to actually alienate him further, but that's kind of the energy he's in. That's his go-to strategy. So that's January. So goodness gracious, his 2026 already starts in a really, really hard position.
Yeah.
And then we move into February, and it's rough too. So 2 months back to back. I'm going to go into his calendar. Let me share my screen for that. So when we go into his February in particular, there is an event that we're all going to experience, which is this, it's considered a beautiful reset for everyone, where Saturn and Neptune are going to be conjunct 0 degrees. It happens February 20th. So folks, you want to be aware where Aries is in your chart, so you have a sense of where that new beginning is. Kevin, do you know where Aries is in your chart, which house it
I
is?
I do not off the top of my head.
Okay, no worries. But there's a new beginning. So just, find out which numerical house Aries is for you. So your first house, second house, third, whatever. And then you're gonna have a whole new beginning. You're kind of like
Mm.
turning a page and going into a new chapter. So I'm a Libra rising, and Aries is in my partnership house. So romantic partners, business partners, BFFs. So February 20th, I'm starting a whole new timeline of how I relate to partnership, how I relate
Oh,
to best
interesting.
friends, and it's kind of like a timeline jump. It's almost like you're exiting even how your generational patterns relate to that. It's a big like cosmic rewrite,
Hmm.
very beautiful. And that's happening in his ninth house of beliefs, seeking knowledge, seeking truth. This has to do with what a collective group decides is truth. This is not what he believes to be true based on his lived experience. This is what academics say, education
Hmm.
systems, government systems. And he's, a Gemini sun, so he's not used to being in this energy. He's used to being in his own energy. And so he's being asked to rely on experts, other people's opinions with this cosmic reset. And it's kind of outside his comfort zone. So that's going to be hard for him to say, hey, you can't just decide to change, the go into Greenland. You have to do,
Well,
what we've always done. Like there's some sort of he has to kind of adhere to the protocol and he's
interesting.
yeah, and this could also be medically too. The medical team could be telling him to adhere to a protocol and he's not. Yeah,
Well, we know he hires very qualified experts
yeah.
to work with him. So
Yes.
hopefully an actual adult comes in the room.
Yeah, someone will communicate to him why we need
Yeah,
to be in NATO and why it's good for and NATO's also connected to economic
right.
trade alliance, not just, Russia and Ukraine. So that's one thing he's going to have a hard time dealing with. But then he also has a lot of planets in seventh house, his partnerships. So
Mm,
there's something about focusing. So we just talked about January. He's not trusting his partnerships. He's feeling off, like, who do I trust? And he's going to act out to get them to chase him. And then he's focusing on he has to show for other people. There's something about his partnerships are going to need help. And this is like him showing up for Zelensky. This is
mm,
him showing up for, the maybe the Venezuela government or maybe Machado. He has to back Machado. There's something about it's not about him being the star. It's about someone else. And
interesting.
that's not his normal orientation. He doesn't like that. But look, see this pile up? There's like one, two, three, a lot of activity in Aquarius. And then they move into the eighth house, which is shared resources, again, blending into other people. And then we have this solar eclipse happening February 17th. And this is also happening in his partnership house too. And it's
Oh,
happening right on
interesting.
his descendant. So there is some sort of eclipse energy of him having to show up for someone else. And we know that's not easy for him. And that's not something he likes to do. But there's something about that's kind of where the orientation is. So
Okay.
this might be, maybe he has to do something for Netanyahu with Iran, and he's just really supporting him. There's something about the tension
Could
of
you
that.
could
Yeah.
you view the eclipse? Because eclipses are usually about endings and new cycles too. There's change with it, but it could even be like maybe there was an ally. He's not trusting people right now, but then there's something that would actually maybe fall through with that too.
This could be a new ally too. We might see him butting up with Putin in a way we never thought before, or he leaves
Mm,
NATO. There's something of a new
okay.
beginning with an ally, and it has nothing to do with him. It has to do with this partnership, and he has to kind of be in a service role towards this other person. It's not about him. So maybe someone has blackmail and they're calling it due type of thing. There's
Yeah,
just
well,
something about it's just not comfortable for his energy. So
interesting.
January's not great. February's not great. I just want to jump ahead. April starts to look better for him.
Okay.
April starts to look better for him in terms of the placements, a bit more advantageous. We start to have Venus go into his 10th house. We have the sun going into his 10th house. So he's going to start to look good or feel better um, in April. Things are starting to part for him. So if he makes it to April, just be aware that's, something that will become easier. And his birthday month is much nicer for him. He's got a couple things going for him. So there seems to be something related to money or relationships. There's some sort of positive. Venus is going into his first house. He also has Venus on top of his Venus. Jupiter's on top of his Venus. This is also the 12th house of his mental. So he could either feel better with his dementia. Maybe the protocol he did with January starts to work. There seems to be something very positive, feeling good with relationships, feeling good with money. He might have a new economic plan, possibly, because Mercury's involved. We also have the sun ending on Mercury. It's his birthday month. There's a new moon that actually happens really close to his sun. I mean, a new moon close to the sun could be, a new beginning for him. This could be maybe him leaving the White House and,
So it
you
could
know,
be like
maybe
a big transition.
it could be a big
Mhm.
transition. There's something with relationships or money. So if he's maybe they're, doing a carrot and saying, look at all this money, you could have a lot of certain readers see that him running to Saudi Arabia. Maybe they'll, give him money in abundance there. So there's
Okay.
something new beginning for him on his birthday month. Mars is in his 10th house, his career. So it's really good for him. So if he can make it to his birthday month, that's very advantageous. I would say the first 3 months are really hard for him.
Yes.
But something in July happens, and it's kind of like he bites off more than he can chew. There's something he goes too far. One thing is collectively, he's going to have Pluto starting to move opposite his natal Pluto, but the sun will also be there and Jupiter will be there at the same time. So these both are
Oh, that's
amplifying.
big, expansive transition. I mean, Pluto can be a card of death and change, transformation,
Yes, it's ending a cycle and
rebirth.
starting a new cycle. So that could be potentially be an off ramp of him in presidency in June to July, which is, oh yeah, you pulled the three of swords
Yes, for the
for
third quarter.
the third quarter. And July is part of the third quarter.
In our
So
last show, I that's where I got Trump, the King of Pentacles, with Eight of Cups, walking away, ill health, and like the Wheel of Fortune, karma, new cycle.
interesting. Yes. And then the South Node starts to move into his first house. South Node is the thing you're letting go. First house is you. First house is your body. So it could just literally be
Mm,
letting go of your personality, losing weight, or it could be exiting. So there
mm,
seems to be some indicators of potential off-ramping that could be happening
okay,
in
in
July.
July.
If it's not, it feels, if we jump over here to August, we're seeing, the sun on top of his Pluto, Jupiter on top of his Pluto, and then there seems to be, he bites off more than he can chew. There seems to be something where he kind of goes too far. There seems to be a karmic new beginning, especially when we go back over here and we've got the new moon very close to his Saturn.
Hmm.
Karmic Saturn, karmic, where are you kicking the can versus where are you taking a responsibility and accountability? There seems to be some new beginning. I believe Mercury is involved in the middle of that too. So he's getting a lot of clarity. So this seems like a nice new beginning, but then he bites off too much. We also have the sun on top of his Mars, South Node entering his first house of self with there's something like he kind of gets more tyrannical, like more dictatorship.
Oh, geez, yeah. Like, and he
I
takes
know.
it too far.
He
Well,
kind of,
maybe you said June looked like it was a much better month for him too. So
yeah,
maybe he goes into July and August like, oh, I'm great. I'm getting all
yeah,
this stuff, and then it blows up in his face.
he goes too far. Yeah,
Yeah,
it kind of turns a corner. Things are going in his favor. He's like, I got this, especially so close to the midterms. He
yeah.
might really feel like, oh, I've got the secret sauce. Um,
Does this
but
energy to me, it almost feels very much like revolutionary, like rebellious, fiery protest kind of energy is kind of so like if he does something too far, the backlash is going to be massive, and
yeah.
especially leading up to the midterm elections if he's still around.
And look, we've got Mars on top of his Mercury. Very dictatory.
And when cancer too, so that's like super explosive, like not
Yeah.
being able to control your emotions, right? That's like
It's very,
anger.
it's not clean. It's very passive aggressive,
Yeah,
very messy. It's
feels
Mars in
explosive.
Cancer is like the wet warrior. Like it's you're just clumsy in terms of how you deliver your blow. So this is kind of Mad King energy. We
Okay.
talked, if folks are
Hmm.
familiar with Game of Thrones, there was a period where the Mad King decides to just kill the city, or the last episode where
Oh, geez.
there's something kind of like that. It's not literally that, but there's a directionality of
Yeah.
Mad King kind of energy if he's still around in terms of this could be, him on the other side being a Mad King. But that's what's happening. And then I want to say September he feels very tired.
Mm.
Mars is in his 12th house. He's having this Mad King energy here, but when Mars goes into his 12th house, he's going to feel really tired. You might see less of him in September, in terms of his activity. But then when we get into October, there's something about him starting to lash out. Um, Almost like manic energy is how I
Mm.
would describe it too. He feels like restless. He feels emotional. He also has this like new vision We have the new moon on top of his Jupiter, so he's feeling expansive but manic too. This is kind of how I would
Mhm.
describe it. His Chiron, his wounded healers nearby. He has this new vision of doing something in October, and this is really close to the midterms. So maybe the Republican GOP want to go this way, and
That
then
was kind of my feeling. It's like he takes it too far. His energy's waning the month before because people are just leaving.
yeah,
The support is leaving. Even his allies, they're
yeah.
done. So he's like exhausted, because that energy, that power is waning.
And September, he's kind of licking his wounds. He's kind of retreating a bit,
Yeah.
is how
Hmm.
I would see it. And then October, he comes back even more, but manic. Like it feels like, what? No. And I wonder if people just don't listen to him or something at this point. But it feels like, yeah, he's very angry. Look, we've got Mars on top of Pluto, very domineering. Like, no, you have to listen to me.
Well, and
And
Leo
then
too, fire sign.
very fiery.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we move into November. And I would say this is the most intense we would see him. We have Mars on top of his Mars, so he's very angry and fiery and combative. We have Jupiter in the mix too, which is just dialing all of it up, like
Yeah.
really angry.
Really
But the
amping
South
it up.
really amping it up. It's kind of and we have the South Node there. With the South Node, it's asking you to let this go. North Node is asking you to add this into your life. South Node is asking you to let this go. So he's getting really angry. He's really manic, really angry, expanding his anger. Like, I'm going to be angry at you now. I'm going to be angry at you now, like, because you didn't help me with this other thing. But the lesson is to let the anger go. And so there's something very possibly violent. This could be military-esque.
Well, and this is November,
This is November.
so like midterms.
This is midterms. Yeah, this could be, and honestly, when it happens, it looks like it happens after the midterm election.
Mm.
So potentially, this could just be his emotional state of being really angry, or this could be another January 6th-esque thing. He wants to like start something in terms of like the election was stolen, or like something,
Well, and it's kind of leading up to this too, because if he's exhausted, it's like his last ditch effort if he's even still in there. Like January 6th, right? Losing the election and,
the election.
trying to overthrow a government and then stage a coup to stay in power. So there's desperation there too, because he
Something.
knows that this is over again if he even makes it here, right?
Yeah. Also, I don't recall when Obama won his reelection in 2012, he was very angry and he
Mm.
went onto Twitter and he posted a bunch of things. And I think his daughter had to take him off Twitter. So even though he's not the one running, like when he sees like perceived like a different outcome than what he wants, he gets really angry.
Yeah.
So this is something we
Did
we
you say
potentially
Obama?
yeah, in 2012 when Obama won his
Mhm.
reelection, election night, Trump was did a whole Twitter rant.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, that's really when
yeah,
he started to come out with like the birther stuff, right?
yes.
Hmm.
Yes, that was the whole thing. And so he was very angry when Obama won re-election, and it's kind of like that, where he's just
Similar energy.
angry. Maybe he's like, "Hey, if you should have listened to me." And so, again, astrology shows his internal landscape. We don't know, if he's still in office. This could just be
Hmm.
him at his retirement home being angry. Like this might not be him in office being angry, but that's kind of what we're seeing here, and
Okay.
it kind of lingers.
Into December.
Yeah, because we've got Jupiter retrograding on his Mars. So he's still bitter about in December about whatever happened in November.
Does it
And
still
so
feel really like explosive like the last month, or is this more just like
he's in it.
he didn't
It's
get
not
away with something and he's gonna pout about it?
yeah, he's pouting. That's kind of
Hmm.
what I would say. December he's pouting. It's not there anymore. But he's pouting and he's being really cool. Like, it's all in his fifth house. Like, well, I could do this, I could scheme, I could think of this creative idea. He's really thinking of a like we could do this, we could do this. A lot of ideas are going through his head in
Interesting.
December. So again, I don't know if this could potentially just be him losing the midterms and him thinking about, okay, well, what do we need to do? Because I think they're going to impeach me. Or he's no longer in office and he's like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, you GOP, you lost the midterms. If you kept me in office, I could have, there could be lots of scenarios of what this is. Um, but let me go.
Honestly, intuitively, I would be very surprised if he's even still president come midterms. That's just my feeling.
You're feeling okay. Well, maybe we could segue into that.
Sure.
Let me go back for folks who just want to be aware of this. So January, February is rough for him.
I
April
think
starts,
March too. Maybe it starts to turn into April, but the
yeah,
next couple months feel
the first 3 months,
a lot
yeah,
of
very
pressure.
rough. April starts to turn, but June is really good for him. It's probably the best month for him all of 2026. July, he bites off more than he can chew. August, really bad. And he does something he's not supposed to. And September, he kind of licks his wounds and kind of retreats. But
Hmm.
then October, November, December, he kind of lashes out. And in November, he's very angry. That's kind of how I
Okay.
would say his astrology. But moving back to the tarot, I
Yeah.
guess that'd be a great place for us to end.
Can
Let's
I
pull.
share real quick
Sure,
before
sure.
we ask the question? It's interesting because I do feel like the first 6 months of 2026 feels like it's like trying to get to the other side of all of this. It feels very turbulent, but I actually feel things actually feel a bit lighter and calmer. Not to say things are going to be perfect and there's not, going to be anything hard that we're moving through, but to me it really feels like this spring especially, but the next 6 months things feel very turbulent and then things start to calm down and look a little bit more positive for the United States. So,
Yeah. And that matches when we did the 2026
mhm.
reading last time. The first 4 to 6 months, chaotic. There seems to be a pivot in April, a pivot in July that kind of release valve kind of shifts those energies. And with this year one, I would say July has this breakthrough energy. There's some collective moments that happen in July
Yeah.
of like 10 Mandanis or like 10 Obamas. There's something
Oh,
about like a
interesting.
whole new paradigm comes in. I feel more
Well, we have
populist
midterms,
energy.
so people are all starting to come up, right?
I feel we're going to be surprised by the unprecedented amount of populist candidates. I don't know if you saw, but there's rumors that MTG is not running for Senate. She actually might run for president as a populist candidate.
Really. I don't see that.
You don't
I
see that?
actually
Okay,
kind of
okay.
think, not to say that she's not going to be still part of the political circle. I almost feel like she's going to do her own podcast. It's like she's stepping out
Oh,
of government and
oh,
focusing
interesting.
more so on making money.
Okay, that
That's
economic
kind of my
engine.
feel
Yeah.
feeling with it.
Yeah, you can make a lot of money as a
Yeah,
podcaster
for
like
sure.
a conservative podcaster in that
Hmm.
sphere. Yeah. Very, very interesting.
So what questions do you want me to
So,
pull
okay,
for
so we're going
Trump?
to end
Yes or
on
no
Trump's,
questions?
yeah, yes or no questions for Trump's 2026.
All
So,
right.
the first question we'll ask is, will Trump be president December 31st, 2026, or midterms, either or, if you want to, we can ask both too.
Yeah, let's ask
Um,
both. So
okay,
December 31st,
31st,
2025.
2026. Yeah,
Oh, 2026. See, I
yep,
told you I'm still in 2025. All right. Will Trump be president
yep.
December
Yes or
31st,
no?
2026? I get the hangman. That would be a no. The no.
I shouldn't delight, but I do.
I think our viewers will delight in that too. This
I
is
have a
like being
cake. I
hung
have a
out to
cake
dry,
planned. Yeah, yeah.
hung out to dry, being a sacrifice.
Oh, and do you
But
see?
also too, it kind of goes into what you were saying too. Like the hangman is all about like stopping things being suspended, but it's also the hangman views the world from a different point of view, from an upside down reality.
Mhm.
So it could be that new perspective, that thing like he needs to shift something, or karma kind of comes in. But it's a no card if you're asking.
Yeah. And I also noticed the hangman has the red and the blue. So it makes me think of
Oh,
just
interesting.
the midterms. Okay, so
Yeah.
no, he won't be. Okay, so
Midterms.
if so I had a follow-up question. If you
Yeah.
had pulled no, I wanted you to pull a yes or no card of is he removed because of health? And then or was he removed because of some like, impeachment, you know,
Let's ask it separately.
Amendment 25.
Just
Yeah.
do a yes or no. So
Was he removed by
was
health?
he removed? Is he
And
removed because
this
of the
is
health
my intuitive prediction. I don't think these first 3 months are so hard. I don't know if he will have the cognitive disposition by
function?
May to be president. Yes.
Mhm. I
I
agree.
think yeah, that's kind of
And I
my
think those around him, that may be why he's fearful of his allies and who he can trust, because there's almost, um, now I don't want to say delusional. It almost to me feels like paranoia, like not grounded at
Mhm.
all, right? But I do think he's onto something because I think those around him are plotting, um, you know, what their power grab would be if he falls, right?
Yeah.
So is it going to be the health that removes him from the presidency? Let's just ask a yes or no. Six of Cups would be a yes. And it's also kind of reflecting on the past, nostalgia, childhood memories.
hmm And his own immaturity too.
Yeah.
Like him regressing, you know?
But that's not to say that it couldn't be multiple things too. The health goes
Mhm.
down, then maybe it's 25th Amendment or impeachment. So
Okay, so
you want me to
let's
ask
ask a
about
yes or no.
impeachment?
Yeah, let's ask yes or no for impeachment and then a yes or no for the 25th Amendment. Wow, can you imagine we would live in a time where they would pull the 25th Amendment?
That's kind of my feeling actually. Even more so than impeachment. The Fool, when I asked about
Impeachment.
impeachment, could be because he's very foolish. It's a new beginning.
Yeah.
So it could be a yes card. Let's just ask about the 25th. Let's see which card feels stronger.
Yeah.
Page of Cups. To me, it actually feels like maybe he'll be impeached, even though
Yeah.
intuitively I'm feeling more energy around 25th Amendment. So they're both yes cards. There's a removal and health probably being a part of it too. Page of Cups too is also somebody that um, can be very much like focused, like stuck in the headspace, like not present, grounded into reality. It's somebody that's like kind of just stuck in their head, their ideas, emotions. Somebody that's very immature too. So it kind of goes along with the health for like the
hmm
25th Amendment option.
Could we, I just got
Yeah.
a follow-up question. Could you ask if he actually just steps down on his own?
Oh, geez.
Because they're all weak, right? Page of Cups, Six
Well,
of
the
Cups.
the Fool
Um,
isn't so weak.
no, the Fool is major arcana. But I think that even the Fool is like it's a surprise. It's a new beginning. So let's ask the other direction. Does he step down? What is that?
The Devil, no.
No. Okay.
And I don't think that probably surprises too many
I know it
people
shouldn't
because
surprise
I
me.
don't, well, who knows? I mean, I never thought,
Okay. Okay. How about let me ask a
uh
follow-up then. Will he be blackmailed into stepping down and citing some sort of like, I want to spend time with my kids more type of thing?
yeah, okay. Will he be blackmailed to step down from the
Yeah.
presidency? Six of Cups again. Oh,
Oh,
and
something from the past.
walking away and the
Okay,
Tower.
potentially. Yeah,
These cards are all
potentially.
kind of coming up back to back. So, well, and also too, kind of where my mind goes with this. I mean, children,
Yeah.
Epstein stuff could force him walking away because the dam breaks.
Oh,
And I
wow.
got kind of goosebumps with that when
Do
I
you
kind of
want
saw
to?
that. Do
Sorry,
we
and
want
I'm
to
asking
ask,
you
is
so
it
many
the
questions.
Epstein
As
stuff
the
that
Epstein files, yeah. Because I think some folks are picking up that someone from another place
I've picked up
might
another country?
might release files in the next six
Mhm.
months about it.
Yes, Ace of Pentacles. That could be evidence. Ace Pentacles are all about physical. It could be health too. Maybe that's an excuse, although I think we all know the health isn't very great. But it could be like a card of evidence, like physical evidence coming out for the Mad King.
Yeah.
Tries to fight back, but he's weak. Or somebody fighting against him.
And the Page of Cups earlier you pulled when we asked about I don't know if it was him being 25th Amendment,
Hmm.
or was it
It was 25th Amendment.
25th Amendment? That also represents younger people. And so I
Hmm.
thought maybe like the youth, but maybe it just represents the younger victims type
Yeah.
of thing. Oh, goodness gracious. Wow, the Epstein files really does get him at the end. Okay, that's
And you
very,
know what, with it too? I don't know if it's actually the abuse,
yeah.
well, alleged abuse. You know, we're on YouTube, so entertainment purposes only. But I've always felt it was the financial aspects of the trafficking.
Oh, what they
And
were
that would be
using.
Ace of Pentacles that,
Yes. The
you
money
know,
trail.
hmm
Because all of this was done by to leverage to move money.
Yep.
This was done to create blackmail to, why did Epstein have Lex? Lex Warner's billion finances. Like, why did he just hand over billions of his dollars without, just because? Like,
Yeah.
so okay, well, with that, like,
Jeez.
that's
It doesn't
very
seem like it's going to be a very great 2026 for him, does it?
oh
Kind
interesting.
of
And so
reflecting.
that could be so. It sounds like we're both intuitively feeling that he might be pivoted or removed. There might be pivot from a removal from him the first part of the year. And that actually could explain why he's so angry the second part of the year,
Yeah.
because he's just like not in power and he's just yelling and he's just like, y'all should have listened to me and we wouldn't be in this situation type of thing.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting. Okay, so let me go back into the deck for folks. I'm going to see you in about 2 or 3 weeks, and we're going to talk about February's energies because that I'll talk
Okay.
more about that reset point that happens February 20th with Saturn and Neptune in Aries.
And
But
a big
folks,
eclipse, right?
and the eclipse season starting to start as well, so to help prepare folks for that. But folks, keep in mind this new moon, very beautiful new beginning for everyone. This should almost feel like very much New Year energy, like New Year's resolutions, new beginnings with this particular new moon. And again, when you're embracing this year one, I know the news can be pretty intense, but there's a new story to be had for you, a new experience, a new adventure that you're going to start for the next, 7 to 8, 9 years, the cycle. And so the collective is going to help you, inspire you, kind of role model for you, stepping into this new path, stepping into
Yeah.
these new opportunities. And so um, it's going to feel
Bring.
a bit different. It's like
Hmm.
parachuting in, but it's really, for your good. Yeah. Did you want to say something, Kevin?
Well, and I was just going to say too, like embrace the change and make the best of it. It kind of brings in that fiery, excitement, passionate energy. Um, it can be hard change or new beginnings. Uh, they can make us feel a bit uncomfortable. But if we can embrace the change and make the best out of it and kind of tap into that fiery, passionate energy, it can be the best thing that's ever happened to you, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really just it's a time to just go for it, right?
Yes.
The
Yes.
risk taking, yeah.
Yes.
Just
Yeah. Get
trust
that
in yourself.
haircut.
Yeah.
Take that
Trust in yourself.
class. Yeah. Trust
Absolutely.
yourself. Maybe walk away from a relationship that's not, healthy. Consider, take that cooking class in that other country for a week or something. There's just something about just leap a bit and just, know that the universe will hold you in different ways and you don't have
Yeah.
to overthink it and overplan it and just, trust from what that feels from
And
within.
I'm
So
a firm believer when you align to your purpose and your passion, the universe will reward you in the most amazing ways that you couldn't have even imagined. But we have to shift things and actually change things to be rewarded, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
You got to meet it halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Embrace it. All
Well,
right,
thank you,
Ness. Well,
Kevin, for
thank
having me.
you.
That was such a big session. We went super deep.
Yes, a lot of stuff going on, right? So,
Yes. Yes.
all right,
Awesome.
my friend. Well, thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you on, and I look forward to checking out having you on to look at February here in a couple weeks. All right.
Of course.
All right,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Take care, everyone. Hit that thumbs up. Please subscribe. Sending you love and blessings.